experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry, we are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com. Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry, we are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches. Well, we never decided who was going to talk first, so I'll jump on the microphone. What's up, and welcome to episode 712 of Card Mensches. I'm Danny Black, and that's John Newman, and we are covering a story that you probably have not heard about, but we will be talking today about SGC being bought by collectors in PSA. What's up, buddy?
Not enough coverage of this, so we have to do our due. But in our defense, and I did this on the promos, guys, and I know we like to joke around. SGC sponsors this show. I know a lot of folks there. I talked to them. You spoke to Nat Turner and Ryan Szynski from Gemrate, Nat Turner from Collectors. So I'm not trying to belittle, but we've talked to the people in the trenches, if you will. And we're going to really try to cover all the angles, not just the surface skim of this. But before we do that, I also want to make an announcement that SGC has purchased Sports Card Nation earlier this afternoon.
Let's be honest. They purchased that a long time ago.
So I will say this. What I find interesting about this acquisition is it's the only two companies I submit cards for grading is PSA and SGC. So it's interesting on a personal level for me. It's the only two companies I consider having my cards that I own in are now owned under the same umbrella. I think that's pretty interesting from my angle. I've said on my podcast before, my biggest fear was my favorite grading card companies being bought by Fanatics, because to me, that's a real conflict of interest. And if, as much as I love SGC, had Fanatics acquired them, that would have been my end of relationship with SGC and any card sent to them. As much as I love them, that would have been a deal breaker for me. So I'm glad it wasn't Fanatics acquiring SGC. That I breathe a sigh of relief there. Now I know others will say that's good for you, John, but I liked SGC and not PSA, and so SGC gave me an option besides PSA, and now they're under the same umbrella. So now what do I get that, if you're one of those folks, I can't argue. You can't argue opinions. But that's the landscape we're in right now.
All right, real quick, before we get too far down the rabbit hole, I did want to share Stadium Insurance. John, I know we talked about this, one of our newest advertisers and supporters, and I just wanted people to see their website, stadiuminsurance.com. If you're going to insure your collection, definitely check out stadiuminsurance.com for an alternative. Now,
and they'll cover all your graded cards, not just SGC or PSA.
Yeah, really. Okay, so
it's like, where do you begin? I mean, listen, I'm not a big guy that writes a lot of notes down. Everything comes from here and here. This, I wrote some stuff down because there's so many shows that have done coverage of this. I wanted to really not miss anything and cover not just the impact now, but 2 to 3 years down the line. What do other grading card companies do in reaction, if anything, that sort of stuff. I did. I will tell. I will answer. Can I answer this question first, Danny from Ruben? Did you see?
Sure.
And Danny, me and Danny've had this conversation. The turnaround times lately for my submissions to SGC have gotten really slower. And Danny can vouch for this. I said to you, now I didn't get specifics, but I just said something's going on behind the scenes. Now I didn't predict this. Not in this case. I've said in the past that I wonder if something like that would happen. But I did say to you that something's going on. Did I think it was this?
I'll admit I think you wear a tinfoil hat sometimes, and you definitely said something was up. And I said
I did not know specifics.
No, you didn't know specifically, but you definitely said something was done.
I'm gonna take credit and say, "Oh, I saw that one." I knew something was going on. I just didn't know what it was exactly. And then this shoe dropped.
Yeah.
So I sensed something. My spider senses were tingling, if you will.
Well, and I'll go so far as if you listen to the interview I did with Ryan, Darren Ravel reached out to him for the tweet, and Ryan didn't know why he was giving that information. That's how secret it was. So even Ryan, who provided the information from GemRate for the tweet for Darren Ravel, didn't know what the tweet was going to be about. So no, this was a total shock for most people.
Yeah, full transparency too. One of the things that got those spider tingling senses up was I sent a couple messages to my folks in SGC and either got vague responses or no responses. And that was really sort of a red flag to me. Like something's going on here. I'm not getting the usual responses, whether it be timeliness or what was said to me. And so, yeah.
Well, I think that we both
Twister like from KFC or Tornado. Because if it's a KFC Twister, I can sense those coming. Not
right.
my dog. Well, maybe my dog too, but both of us.
Can I tell you how hungry I am? By the way, so
I had Hey, you're gonna be proud of me. I had Chinese food for dinner.
Yay! I eat Chinese food like once a week, and John makes fun of me.
I like Chinese food. I just don't eat it as much as you do. I like it.
I eat it enough that I'm, I can change my nationality. I can compete in the Olympics for other countries now.
And to answer Ruben's question, I have no sense. So it's my first.
Okay.
One.
So here, let's. I don't really know what this means, and Peter's comments yesterday were not very helpful.
That's a good starting point, right? And Hammer 44, thank you for saying. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, what does this mean? How does this affect me?" There's nothing wrong with that. I say that, and I've been doing this up 40 years, right? No one knows everything. We're going to speculate tonight. Even with the conversations. And you'll agree with this, Dan. Even with the conversations we had with me, with SGC folks, and with you and Nat Turner, they're going to tell us some things, but they're not. It's like a poker game, right? They're not. They're going to show you a couple cards face up, and there's going to be cards face down too. Let's not lose sight of that. We can ask questions, we can get some answers. But they're not just going to be an open book and this isn't True Lies where we inject them with serum and they just tell everything. That's not the reality of
Finkel is Einhorn, and just remember, laces out.
I got to watch that again. It's been a long time.
In fact, there's Ruben's got it. And Orlando said he's having Italian today, Chinese tomorrow. And Mookie says Orlando lives in Epcot. It's a different country for dinner every night.
I love Epcot, man.
I know. I'm so hungry.
That's how I think you're getting old. when Epcot becomes your favorite Disney park. I think that's when you've crossed the Moonlight Graham, like you've crossed the line. You can't go back.
That's hilarious.
So,
what's up, Hodges? No, tonight is one of those nights where I want to be honest. I'm going to share as much as I can talk about. There's stuff we've heard that's not appropriate to say on air because we're not sure if it's true. But we want to, I think, give you as much information as we have, as we know, years in the hobby, our experience and what we think is going to happen. From what very important from what we know and what Nat Turner told me and what Peter Steinberg said in his video is for the time being, these companies are operating separately and nothing major is changing in their current operation. So that's
can I use my fast food analogy?
Sure.
So to me, this is like McDonald's acquiring Wendy's, and they're going to still be McDonald's and Wendy's. You're still going to see those Wendy's commercials with the one guy that looks like Drew Herndon and the other guys. And, and when you go to Wendy's and whether you buy a Baconator, you can still buy the Baconator. You can still have your Frosty. The only difference is that money's going to go to one umbrella company, right? Rather than it used to go to just Wendy's, right? One of the quotes I got from who I talked to at SGC said, John, the only difference right now is where our checks are coming from. Everything else is business as usual. And I believe that, at least for the moment, right? Will it stay that way? This is where the speculation will always come in. And not just us, but other talking heads like us will as well. So, so what I was told on the SGC side, I do, for those that don't know, I think a lot do. I do literally monthly bulk subs. Lots of cards to the SGC, sometimes more than one a month. And I got 2 shows this weekend. I got a show tomorrow and I got a show Sunday in 2 different cities. And those promoters are advertising me as Sports Card Nation there, accepting SGC cards for bulk submission. I get a table just for SGC. And so then they're like, well, is this still on? Like, and I figured it was, but I had to hear it to be official. And I did today. I was hoping to hear yesterday, but they called me today and we had a decent conversation. I actually left my schoolroom. I'm a teaching assistant. I think my teacher that I work with thought like it was a family emergency, because when I came back in like 20 minutes later, he's like, is everything okay? And like I didn't go into I didn't say no, that's a hobby. I said, yeah, everything's good. And I left it at that. So
you didn't say, you'll never believe the SGC was bought.
Yeah, if listen, we get along great, but if I said, hey, that was a hobby call, he wouldn't have been mad, but he would have been like, really?
Yeah.
So I just left it. I left it without going into details. Like, yeah, everything's good. So it's a hobby emergency from Mookie. By the way, Mookie asked earlier what my fortune said, if it said anything about SGC. My fortune said, I like my fortune tonight. It said, be yourself. It's easy, which I do try to do, and it makes sense. So that was my fortune.
Wasn't that a great way to end the meal? Isn't Chinese
be yourself,
great?
It's easy. Yeah. Sometimes I get a fortune I'm not as fond of as that. Sometimes
would you get to eat? Would you get to eat?
General Tso's chicken, and then we get like spare ribs and
yeah, that's the good stuff.
Yeah. So I ate a big lunch, so I didn't even finish it. So my dinner for tomorrow after the card show is leftover Chinese food.
All right. Here's a couple things that I think are interesting. The technology and the counterfeiting. That's there's been talks for a while about purchasing SGC by a number of companies. So I don't want to pretend this came out of nowhere. But the according to Nat Turner, the impetus for this final conversation was that the two companies were working together to stop counterfeiting. And they realized that there was a technology gap and they could fit together, and it was a good fit. So SGC should be getting better technology, should be getting both companies should be getting better at stopping counterfeiting and fraud, and that should be a positive for people who are submitting.
Yeah, I was told that on my call as well, that they're going to join forces in with certain things, that being one of them that was mentioned.
Yes.
I asked the question, what might we see? One of my things is, I've gotten a little bit into tickets in the last year or two, and I have to send a PSA to get my tickets graded. That's fine. I don't have a problem with PSA, but I wish SGC offered that option. So I asked, might that be something they do in the future? They kind of said, anything is possible, but they didn't really, commit to saying, yeah, that's coming or anything like that. I asked about, will the cases change, the flip changes, and the answer to that, they said, John, we might have did that without an acquisition. Like, we've changed the flip we use now is different than the flip we used 2 years ago. We're always looking at different plastics and things that are better and durable and just make more sense. So their answer to that was like, that stuff has is something we always looked at, even without an acquisition. I saw Logan, who's our teammate on Hobby Hotline and who's been through mergers and acquisitions. He said, I've been through them too. I don't know about you, Danny. And there's usually changes. I think there will be changes. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this will not change anything. I don't think that's true. I do think it's going to be 2 years before we see anything of significance. And some of that, and this is all speculation. This isn't from them. You didn't hear this, I'm sure, on your end. But usually in an acquisition, there's a contract that goes along with it. It's usually either 2 or 3 years that says no major, like, you can make small things, but it's usually you got 2-3 years to figure things out before bigger things can happen. So 2 or 3 years from now, all bets are off, right? And I think what happens in the next 2 years will determine what those changes are and if they occur and how big or not big they are. I don't know if you agree with that. That's my general gut feeling, and that's just par for the course for these type of deals. And the other thing I want to mention, Danny, this is big news in the hobby, but this is something that happens in a lot of industries. This is not new territory.
No, not by any means.
In every industry, we see it in supermarkets. There's one that's being fought now in court. I think Kroger
And Albertsons.
and Albertsons merging together, and people are like up in arms about it and saying it's a monopoly. And so I know I've heard the word monopoly used in this case as well, and it's not, guys. While they are two major forces and arguably the two biggest major forces in the space of grading, this is not a monopoly. If you hate both of these companies, if you're unlike me, hey man, I don't like PSA and I don't like SGC, you have other options. There's 200 grading card companies. Now, they're not all on the same level as PSA, SGC, CGC, or even picking up the Caboose, Beckett, or Tag if you want to throw them in there. HDA is kind of faded after trying to get in the ring with the big boys and throw some punches. I get it. But you do have other choices that are still legitimate, right? So it's not a monopoly. I get it. If you don't like both companies, you're probably not going to be happy when you saw that come across your phone. I get all that. Opinions are ours, right? We're entitled to them. So while I wasn't disappointed, there will be others that say this sucks and I don't like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's you. Just like it's me that says right now, I don't have a major issue with this. I hope, SGC, I like to think they're going to be around in 3 or 4 years. I hope that's the case. But we don't know that, right? I can't sit here on, March 1st and tell you that I guarantee that, right? I can't do that. But I think for the next couple of years, we're not going to see, a ton of different things happen. I think it is going to be, two companies under one umbrella.
All right, I want to catch up on some comments if I can and react.
Yeah.
Okay, so Logan, they need a slab upgrade. I asked him which company he was talking about. He's saying SGC needs a slab upgrade. Not a fan of the Tux. Maybe SGC will go back to authenticating autos. This is not pack pulled autos. This is on card auto after production. SGC does not currently authenticate those. There's no plans currently to change that. Down the road, who knows? But there is no plan right now to change any of this. TJ is online. What's going on, TJ? He uses PSA for tickets and auto cards, exactly what I just talked about. SGC for everything else.
TJ is me.
That's adorable. Red Tux. I like that. The PSA.
Red Tux. Red Tux. That sounds like a Marvel, like superhero villain. Like a Marvel. It's like so and so versus the Red Tux.
Okay, I want to clarify some stuff here with Mookie. I believe the acquisition means the end of any hope for an SGC registry. Why would collectors let them compete with PSA on its one true monopoly? All right, Mookie, got some good news for you. They are doing a SGC registry. That is in the works. That is going to happen. And most exciting, there's going to be a combined checklist, a full checklist, so you can actually keep a checklist of your PSA and SGC cards together, like I'm doing the Koufax run. I have the rookie in an SGC. I've got other.
I like that. As someone who uses both companies.
Yep.
I have PSA and SGC graded cards all over this room, both. So
that's going to be a huge advantage, I think, for a lot of people. TJ says, "Yep, 2 years. I work for Big Pharma. It takes multiple years to figure things out." I think there's going to be, like John said, there's going to be small changes, and I think we're going to see some of those right away benefit the user, because that's going to be the technology, the fraud, but more importantly, it's going to be consistency, I believe, on getting cards out the door. I think you're going to start seeing PSA and SGC have similar turnaround times within a year or so. I think that'll be one of the impacts. They're not going to make it vastly different. My understanding is they want some consistency.
I want to touch on the SGC registry thing. That I know for a fact was in the works prior to this acquisition. Does that get speed tracked now because of financial and more resources? Sure, I think that's true. But the SGC registry was already in the pipeline before these two entities ever started talking acquisition. Just so people were, and that I know firsthand. From years back of communique.
Stephen, how are you, doctor? He says, I have friends who use SGC because they don't want to use collectors. They're strongly opinionated. Curious what they do now. I would ask them.
Listen, let's keep it real. I know SGC sponsors the show. I love them. You're fond of them. But someone who don't like this deal or doesn't like one company over the other, but now this deal sours them on both. Maybe CGC does benefit from. I saw someone comment. I apologize for not met. Someone comment like this is going to help CGC.
Well,
Maybe.
I want to come back. I want to come back and touch on that in a second because I think the impact of on CGC Beckett is where I want to tackle that altogether. What
I got to put this up, man. We can do a show just on comments, right? Red Tux is in the stream hemorrhoid pad. I like it. Preparation H, Red Tux pads.
Oh, there's definitely not water in the glass tonight. Logan said SGC slabs are not very secure and are very easy to crack. Logan, remind me not to let you over my house.
Well, listen, they're thicker than PSA slabs. They're I see PSA slabs are to me a little too thin. I like them. I mean, I don't throw them out of bed, but they're kind of thin.
Hammer 44 says tag is grading 89 and forward. At some point, they should be able to push that. Yeah, one of the things that is secondary market value. Right now, they are just lagging behind. And if you have a card of value, where do you want to send it? CGC should benefit. Rubens already owns a piece of them through one of his investment companies. Actually,
I got scared by something Mike Petty said, but then he made me feel better with the next comment. So he put bye-bye sponsorships, and then he wrote, don't worry, I'll sponsor you too, you. So we know if we lose SGC, and hey, listen, I don't, anything can happen. That might be the case. We'll be sponsored by Mike Petty. So it's a lose-win if that happens.
Logan continues to let people know how to commit crimes. John Lee, what's going on, John from Center State? Good to have you here. Mike Petty, RIP SGC. Not right away, but certainly at some point that could happen.
What is it? One of my favorite movies because Marissa Tomei's in it. I'm a huge Marissa Tomei, fellow Brooklynite, and you want to know how much of a Marissa Tomei fan is? I am. Had my son been a girl, his name was going to be Marissa. That's Jordan. It's Jordan instead because he's but he would have been Marissa Rose Newman had he been born female. So
I can't wait to talk to Jordan about that.
He knows that it's not a secret.
I just want to say thank you to Mookie. It was a fantastic weekend. My boys were bar mitzvah this past Saturday.
Oh yeah, congrats to Zach and Connor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to catch up on some of these.
And that was the trigger. That bar mitzvah was the trigger for this acquisition.
The deal was actually done. The deal was actually done that night. I was getting the news.
The bar mitzvah went down. The bar mitzvah went down. Steinberg left the bar mitzvah and made the signed off on the deal.
We could have had Nat and Peter Steinberg on here. Mookie and Mike Petty are deciding who's gonna be
black. Mike Petty spelled Marissa wrong. There's only one S in Marissa Tomei.
John takes this very seriously.
I love my Marissa Tomei, man. Don't misspell her name.
Okay. Ruben, PSA also has a New Jersey location they're opening up. So, yes, it definitely is another location, but they already have a New Jersey office. They're staffing up.
This is a great point. But that's a great point by Ruben because this is something that was mentioned to me on today's phone call. I'm just saying. So
my understanding is that collectors, and this was from Nat Turner, is not using their New Jersey office for direct mailing yet. So right now, everything goes to California. Some of the cards from California then go to New Jersey for grading, and they're shipped back to California, and then they're sent out. So eventually, the shipping, when you submit to PSA, will go right to the correct building, but it's a little crazy.
I just want to talk. I don't even want to talk. I'm like Joe Namath. I don't even want to talk about SGC and PSA. I just want to talk about Marissa Tomei. So does Mike Petty. He said the extra S because he likes her so much. It's for extra sexy, I guess. So, all right. I can't argue that one. Good point, Mike Petty.
So the Jersey office for PSA.
I couldn't even get Danny. Just let that one go. He's like, I'm not getting in that.
You're going off the rails on me. I'm just trying to keep the Titanic from hitting the iceberg.
Thank you.
Moving to the Jersey office for PSA DNA is being expanded. According to Nat Turner, they're still staffing it up, and they're going to be handling a ton of cards over there. So that should be a huge advantage for anybody submitting on the East Coast. It should get quicker eventually because they'll be grading right out of Jersey, and you can send it to Jersey and get it back from Jersey. So that should help a lot.
I saw a comment, and listen, it's the elephant in the room, right? Again, we know with mergers and acquisitions, the real impact isn't felt probably for 2 or 3 years in. Sometimes those companies that are acquired are gobbled up, right? Or just consumed by the buying company. Can that happen here? I can't sit here and look into this camera and tell you with 100% certainty that won't or can't happen. It sure could. I hope not. I don't think so. Not onto that level. But I don't have a say in that, and that does occur in other industries, and it's even happened in the hobby as well. So, I hope not. As a big fan of SGC, but I have no say in that other than just saying I hope it doesn't happen.
Well, let me give you a couple numbers here. If you combine PSA and SGC, that's 85% of the grading market right now. Just to show you just how disproportionate in size we're talking about. However, CGC is bigger than SGC. CGC is 93.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. This is where
This is after talking to Ryan. This is after talking to Ryan today.
I get it. A lot of that, and I'm not saying it doesn't count. But a lot of that's trading card games. And for me,
well, that's my point.
Who doesn't do trading card games? I'm just a sports card guy. I don't. I know it's easy for me to say, well, I don't count it, and it's easy for me to discount it, but I don't really look at that. So when I say who are the biggest two, when I say who are the biggest two sports card graders, I'm going to answer that with PSA and SGC. That's my answer.
PSA is 40% trading card games. Their sports card business went backwards last year. If it wasn't for trading card games, they actually would have lost total size compared to the year before in grading. Their sports business went down. SGC does almost no trading card games and is much smaller. So whether or not you want to count trading card games, they're a huge part of the grading market. It's 93% of CGC, 40% of PSA. And so, it's just something that we have to consider, even though you and I are not trading card game people.
Yeah, and here's a comment from Bobby, right? Really enjoy the videos you both make. Thank you, Bobby. I am in the minority, but I like grading sports cards with CGC over others. That's the beauty, right? We have choices. That's why I say there's no, we can squash the monopoly talk at this point. Someone else mentioned, what if Collectors buys Beckett? Here's how, when this news broke, yes, it shocked me initially. And then I look at it like this. It's sort of a compliment, right? You're going to buy or acquire somebody you feel is sort of a threat to you, right? If someone's not a blip on your radar, you're not even looking at them in that capacity. So I take it as a compliment. I don't know if everyone in that building does, but as someone who's a fan of both companies, I take that as a compliment. I'd be if Collectors had bought Beckett grading, I would have been like, hey, over SGC, or I would have said to my little voice in my head would have said, well, they probably tried to buy SGC and they couldn't do it.
Well,
So
I know for a fact, and I've had it verified, that Fanatics and CGC both tried to acquire SGC also in the near past.
and
So
I've already said this, I'll reiterate it. Had Fanatics acquired SGC, as much as I love SGC, I'm wearing this shirt. That would have been a deal breaker for me. I would have ended bulk subbing for them. Just to me, that's a huge conflict of interest, and I don't want this isn't just FGC. I don't want Fanatics
right,
owning any company. I
you don't
know
want them grading.
Ruben,
You just don't want them grading. Either whether they
yeah,
started
I know
themselves.
Ruben has an investment in CGC. I don't know what percentage or how many points he has, but I don't want to read Fanatics buys grading company blank. I don't want to. I don't care who it is. I don't want to see that. And whoever it is, whether it was SGC or PSA,
Or start their own.
yeah, I won't grade with them or start their own. They talked about starting their own when they
Oh,
first.
well, they already slapped stuff in their stores for sale, not with the grade.
Yeah, it's not a true grade. Yeah, it's not a
Right.
grading card per
But
se.
they have the capability.
I would never sub with a company that produces cards of their own. It's a huge conflict of interest. And someone would say, well, don't buy their brand graded. Well, that works both ways, right? You're going to be biased to the cards you manufacture.
You're never going to buy a Topps product.
And I'm just saying, dude, I hope that day never comes for any grading card company.
John, just back me up on this. My brain is a little fried. Didn't eBay buy ComC? Isn't that already done?
No, they didn't buy them. They have some sort of partnership.
Okay.
As far as they're not.
Yeah, so I don't see ComC.
ComC is still owned by Tim Getch. So.
Right. I don't see them being acquired by somebody other than eBay.
Yeah, they have a great relationship. Like, I believe if like ComC ever sold, eBay was probably the one that gets it. Let's put it that way. Yes, but eBay does not own ComC. They have some deals in place for like collaboration, but they're not owned by the same people.
Logan, to answer your question, yes, I believe that collectors bought SGC partly in a defensive move against Fanatics. I look at this like the Yankees and the Red Sox signing a free agent. Sometimes you got to sign the free agent to keep them away from your rival, and you'll figure out what to do with them later. I think that's sort of the scenario here, where
that's a great point.
Yeah, they had to make sure SGC didn't go to a rival, and they'll figure out what to do with them.
I gotta respond. I gotta respond to Mookie's comment. Fanatics make see-through pants a good slap. I will say this: as someone that loves acetate cards because they're clear and you can see through them, I do not like the Fanatic see-through uniforms. There's a line you have to draw somewhere.
Mike Petty says, "Who did collectors sell Golden to?" I don't know if this is definitely not official and definitely not confirmed, but everything I'm hearing is eBay. So
Mensches did try to buy Golden. We pulled our money together.
We finished second in the bidding.
Yeah, so we were almost Ken's boss. We were that close to being Ken's boss.
Yeah,
that would have been an interesting dynamic.
Well, one of the things is, and if you think about it, if you put up a card for sale, let's say you got a PSA 10 Jordan. On eBay, it might sell for $110,000. On Golden, it might sell for $140,000. And eBay knows it's one of the problems that they have is they don't compete in the higher end and those types of cards. People don't want to eBay those cards, so it'll give them a whole nother high end division, which should be interesting.
I joked about this in one of our chat rooms for one of the shows. I wanted Netflix to buy Golden and do a 24-hour live stream with him. So you could be like, hey, let's do a live looking on Ken as he puts on his pants. He's eating Kellogg's Red Berries. He's
My
yelling at his kid. I wanted like 24/7, like live drop-ins on Ken. And I think Ken would have liked that, to tell you the truth. To a
Mike
certain extent.
Mike Petty is a big fan of this, it appears. Logan says Gold Bay auction.
Gold Bay. That sounds like a 007 like new movie.
It does.
Bay.
Gold Bay. I think we just named the next Bond movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gold
Bay. They had Goldenrod or
so it's Gold Bay.
Right now we got Gold Bay, or there was Octopussy. I'm a big fan of the Bond movies. All right. So one of the things that you and I mentioned, and I can't believe we're already 40 minutes into this, is with all this.
Can I do this? Can I do this? Is it too late? Is the joke over? Can I say bid? Mega bid.
You can always say mega bid.
No, you got to do it like James Bond. Bid.
Mega bid. You got to do Sean Connery. Octopus.
I hang on. I do a Sean Connery impression, but I can only say 2 words when I do it.
Yeah.
Whopper Jr. Whopper Jr.
That's all I
can do.
We'll work on that for next show. Brendan says they ought to be on season 3 now of Ken's Netflix show. Well, yeah, it's. I'll move on to the next one. Mookie says Adult Drink John is my favorite John.
That's if I was a Ken doll series into Barbie, there'd be an Adult Drink John Drink John version in the box.
Your impression sounds like Schwarzenegger.
Get to Whopper Jr.
Yeah, you're close.
To the Whopper Jr.
That might be better.
Neighbor. I said neighbor. I said neighbor.
All right. So, what would we want in a grading company? If we got to choose now, we have this merger. Let's say let's say that PSA and SGC are going to play together. Let's just assume for a second that there's going to be some sort of merger. And for the record, this is hypothetical. We don't believe this is going to happen. But let's say it did. Could you get your SGC card slabbed in PSA slabs? Would they honor the grade?
Like crossover, just, hey, if you want it and vice versa, if you want. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I still want them to look at it, right? I don't know if I want it to be automatic. I know now when I send a card for crossover review to SGC, it's a 90% doesn't cross over rate. It's high. It's very rare that they upgrade it, So, what do I want to see? I don't like Beckett grading at this point anymore, but I'd like to see subgrades, where you don't have to pay extra for them. I like subgrade. Can I live without them? Sure, I am living without them. I don't grade it through Beckett, but would I like to see them as an added value to the grade? Sure, I'd like to know what made this a 9 if I can't really see it naked eye, right?
And here's some of the problems. What do you do with the 9.5s?
That's the $1 million question.
The scales don't line up. We know that.
That is something. And again, what I'm about to say was not from anyone at SGC, but you might see them adopt the same grading scale, even though they're 2 separate companies. Might be one of the results of this acquisition. Again, I don't know that. I didn't hear that, but that might be a fallout from this.
A hobby standard universal grading scale, Brendan Ryan says, no more opinion-based grades and actual template to follow.
Well, let's say if they do that, it's going to be an 85% universal grading scale, right? Because they own 85% of the market now in the grading world. So and in a way, it is that. And that's why I wonder if we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that.
Well, and that gets back to my earlier point: is if they use the same grading scale, will they honor the crossovers?
I still think you got to look at the card, right? You
I
don't want to
agree
get
with
in a
you.
situation. How
This
many
is
times have we
hypothetical.
seen? How many times have we seen a card graded put 10? And it's not just one company; it's happened to multiple companies, right? And someone posts a picture of their card, and it's got a ding corner, and you're like, "How the hell did that card pull a 10?" Like I can see that with my naked eye on a computer in my living room, 2,500 miles away. How did a grader put a 10 on that, right? So I don't want anyone just saying, well, SGC gave it a 9.5, we give it a 9. I want it to be looked at. Like if it is a 9.5, give it a 9.5. But I want it to be looked at.
As a separate comment, I would like to see PSA have a 9.5.
They do have half grades. They just rarely give them out.
Well, no, they don't. They don't have a 9.5. They'll do an 8.5, not a 9.5.
All right. But that's good to me. I think you're going to see that. I think is good. Again, this is just a gut hunch. This is not insider trading or insider info. I think they are going to uniform their grading scales together.
Yeah, I have behind me. I have a McGuire 85 Olympic. That's an 8.5. That's the highest half grade they'll use. Then they go to 9, then 10. I would like to see that 9.5 because I'd like to see it equal an SGC 9.5. I would like to see that consistency.
It is. This is the $1 million question. This is the one question I see a lot since this announcement has been made. Like, what is going to happen with that? I think they're gonna unify their grading scale. When? How soon? That remains to be seen. Was I told that? No, that's just a gut hunch.
I would like to see a lot of what they're doing already, with the registry with SGC. I know that there's a million reasons why this is hard, and maybe Ryan from GemRay can pull it off, but the universal registry, it's different.
I think everyone would sign that petition for universal graded card registry. Why wouldn't you want that, right? It gives you the complete. But you know what? I don't care what universal registry, even PSA's registry. It's not it's not foolproof, right? People crack cards out of slabs and resub it. Sometimes to different companies. So something's listed as a PSA 9 that's now in a Beckett slab as a 10 or an SG slab as a 9.5. But it's still on PSA. No one's calling PSA and saying, hey, that 9 you graded, take it off because I just sent it to SGC and they got a 9.5. So take it
Some
off.
people mail the labels back. Not many.
No one mails the labels back. This isn't a Church of Latter-day Saints commercial. No one is mailing. Listen, if anyone has ever crossed over and mailed the old label back, I want you on the next Sports Card Nation. You better not lie. Before I even put you on, I'm going to get a lie detector test from a garage sale, and you're going to have to take it.
From a garage sale. I like that added in there.
There's plenty of those out there.
Brian says PSA would need to make their 10 stricter to have 9.5. Well, I think that's part of it. Is anything above a 9 right now gets a 10. So dividing those up between 9.5s and 10s would be interesting. But a PSA 9.5 would price very well in the market. Brendan Ryan says, with our luck, PSA will just introduce an 8.75 grade to quiet the angry villagers.
That's because the Russian judge, it would have been a 9, but the Russian judge deducted a point. They didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, they probably arrested the other judge also.
He's bruised and battered.
Yeah.
That's where the 8.75 comes in.
Orlando. Mike Petty says, Orlando, I may have a couple of Kellogg's 9s.
Speaking of that, man, I have a 1980s Kellogg's 3D set that I bought. I didn't just get this. I got this in a collection buy about 2 years ago. These things are the nicest Kellogg between centering, no cracks. This thing is man. I almost think these. When I looked at these when I bought the collection, I thought these were fake. That's how nice they are. They're that clean. I thought, man, these got to be Fugazis. Well, all right, enough of that. I just I saw Kellogg's.
PSA is running a ticket and pack grading sale this month.
What's that?
PSA is running a ticket sale and
after I sent some packs and a ticket in.
Well, that's my point. They waited till you sent it in.
They're like, all right, John sent it in. Let's run the special.
Women's History Month. I got this card, Babe Diedrichson, and this is from the Olympics 1936. And
we got the guy, but I've already had him on the show, so I can't, I can have him on again. But look at this comment. I have handed cracked PSA labels back to both Joe and Orlando and Steve Sloan at the National in the past. I want the Pop report to be a little more.
There you go.
Well, listen, that's honesty's honesty's the best policy. You're the only. You got to be one of the few, the proud, the turn in my old flips.
But I appreciate that.
What's that, Bruce?
Babe Diedrichson.
It looks a little like you close one eye, you got a Bruce Jenner resemblance. You close one eye.
Bruce Jenner has a better body.
Wow, we don't. Oh, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah. See, I'm a progressive guy. All right, we're on the home stretch here. So, John, after 2 days,
there is no home stretch.
With adult drink, John, there is. After 2 days of talking about this. After 2 days of talking about this.
I haven't talked about it 2 days.
Well, you've been talking about it.
Not publicly. This is the first. I haven't done any podcasts about it. This is going to air Monday, as far as audio goes. It's airing now, obviously live. So I haven't talked publicly.
I've been talking about it for 2 days.
All right, so don't lump me in with your crew.
You're lumped in, baby. You're lumped. You're lumped like crab meat.
The one thing before you ask me whatever you're going to ask me, I want to bring this up too, because I haven't heard enough people mention this. What's something we're talking about in 2 to 3 years, PSA can absorb SGC and make them go away, right? Also, in 2 or 3 years, right, they can build SGC up in a couple years and do what with them?
Sell them and make a profit, right? Yes.
So that don't take that option off. Don't poo-poo that option. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that can happen too.
I will tell you one of the things I was told, and I don't know if this is going to come to fruition, right away, but I was told that there's a chance that SGC is used as a special niche of the grading. So for an example, if it's pre-war, it goes to SGC.
I don't like as a fan of SGC. I wouldn't sign off.
Or they're going to be.
Could it happen? Sure, I guess it could happen.
All vintage, goes to SGC, and modern and trading card games go to PSA.
Yeah, but does PSA want to not do vintage cards?
Well, they own both now.
See, so that's to me. I get that point. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think PSA wants to give up a complete market share by purchasing another company. Why would you acquire another company and then give them a portion that much of your business? I don't see that. I don't know how much the business it really is. Because is it possible? Sure, because Kevin Garnett told me it was. He said anything's possible. I don't know if he was talking about this, but he did say that.
So, I mean, we'll see. I think the possibilities are certainly interesting.
Yeah, this is Logan makes a great point there with the Strenton Collectors portfolio. If they decide to go public, right? Right? In 2 to 3, they really build SGC up, and then they say, "Who wants to buy them?" Right? And someone buys them.
Well, to Logan's point, and John, I think I said this off air to you. This is pretty much what's happening, Logan. You hit the nail
Yeah,
on the
and the
head.
PSA collectors
I'll leave it at
has
that.
mentioned this in public, in conversations in print, that this was something they were looking at. So it's not a secret, per se.
Mike Petty says that would be funny if we did a Danny and John versus Mookie and Mike Petty, according to Orlando. And Mike,
Man, that would be tough. Those are two funny guys.
well,
Like,
Mike Petty says,
I don't know if I have an A game. I don't know if I have an A game at this point in my life, but I definitely would have to develop one. And I don't know if that's possible.
Mike
Although
says,
Kevin Garnett did say anything is possible. So
yeah. Mike says that Friday night live streams are lacking. I want to do a card drinking show on Friday nights. Mike, we're here, baby. Every other Friday night, we're here for you.
Whiskey review. And we'll do whiskey reviews. We'll add that as a
Brendan
extra
Ryan,
value.
I love this. PSA black labels. So many ways it could go. Love the idea of that.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're gonna see something, right? We're gonna see something.
Can we draft Logan to our team if we do this battle?
Yeah,
Logan was left if he's left out. So we'll draft Logan.
Yeah, we'll have a talking head draft.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Mel Kiper. We're gonna have to Mel Kiper to like chop up the film and do some.
By the way, Logan, I love that you said chopped liver. Logan,
if we do this, we gotta have Todd McShay. We gotta have Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, and I want Mel Kiper to be like, Todd, we're sleeping on this Logan Ward guy. I've watched the film. He knows a lot more than just racing cards. People don't give him enough credit. The guy's a sleeper pick.
Mookie saying, I would want Logan. He's a killer. The problem with Logan is he only makes left turns.
The problem with Logan knows all sports, and I do think he gets like a bad rap because his name sounds like a race car driver, right? How much of a race Logan Ward? Like if I'm watching like Cars 5 and like one of the Logan Ward's on the track. Like I wouldn't even blink an eye. Like it just makes sense.
The 4-car goes by. Logan Ward holding tight around the stretch. They're going to be heading
Logan
down.
Ward's a racing car driver name. Like
right.
It is a big name. We love Logan. Logan knows this. We love Logan.
Logan's a card man. Logan.
I've told him that to his face, so he knows what I think about him.
Jimmy the Greek will drop the odds. Yeah, it's been a minute on Jimmy the Greek.
I'm old enough to remember him. That's the scary.
I'm old enough to remember watching what he said.
Yeah, that too.
Cooter, welcome. My prediction is they consolidate operations and offer the submitter the choice of encapsulation in a tuxedo or a PSA blister pack. Maybe one day, not right away.
Yeah, something's good. I think the first thing, and again, this is just pure speculation on my part. I think the first thing we see is they combine their grading scales and come up with a unified one. When is it? Next week? Is it a year from now? I don't know, but I think that.
Well, the first thing, and I'll say it right now, is we're gonna see the SGC registry, and is a universal checklist. I think that's going to be that in the counterfeiting measures, which we may or may not know about publicly.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Logan said,
here's what someone asked me, being an SGC bulk submitter, my mailbox was full, man. I had a snow day Thursday. I was answering emails and DMs. I had one guy that bulk subs last month with me. He's waiting for his cards to come back. and he legitimately, I told you the story before we record, not in a jokey sort of way. He asked me, John, with this acquisition, does that mean the cards I submitted to you for SGC bulk sub will now come back in PSA labels? He legitimately wanted to know. Like, it wasn't tongue in cheek, and I had to explain to him, no, they got submitted to SGC. They'll be in SGC holders. But a lot of people don't know, right? Or they wonder, like, what is going to happen? Here's, and a lot of people ask me, is this good or bad or both? And so here's my answer to that when I get asked it. I think there are going to be some good things with this, but they're not all going to be good. I mean, that's to sit here and say everything's going to be roses and daisies and hummingbirds flying around, pollinating flowers in Pleasantville. No, it's not. And I've been in this hobby long enough to know that rarely, or if ever happens. And it won't happen here. We've got to, I think some folks in the hobby, if one thing isn't great, they just blow it up and say, this sucks and it's terrible. We got to quit doing that, right? We got to look at the big picture. So everything coming from this is not going to be bad, and everything coming from this is not going to be good. It's going to be both. I guess it comes down to, will the good outweigh the bad when it comes, it's like a scale. Will there be more good weighing the scale down than bad? And that's where the real verdict comes in. And it's too early. It's too early to render a verdict. So,
absolutely. Mookie says John's writing a long fortune cookie.
No, I cut it short. I cut it shorter than my normal soapbox ran. I cut to the chase.
Well, I we're in overtime here, and I know, John, you don't believe in overtime. We can keep going forever.
Well, I mean, I like to make sure I cross
Do
all the T's.
you have all your? I want to make sure we hit all your points.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that people know a couple things. This is not a monopoly. It is a heavy market share. It's not a monopoly. You taught me something I didn't know. I'm taking business law courses right now. It just hasn't come up yet, if it will come up. But a monopoly also has to deal with the purchase price, which I don't agree with. I know that's true. But based on what something sells for also is a factor whether there can be a case for the monopoly. This won't qualify. So this is not a monopoly. You're going to see a lot of clickbait on shows, right? Monopoly, stop the monopoly. This is the end. Monopoly, right?
I'm getting ready for the next 2 hours. I'm doing my stretch.
All right. You ready?
Yeah. All right, go.
All right. So that's one point. The other point is one I already made. Don't be shocked. I'm not predicting it, but in 2-3 years, right, collectors can sell SGC to somebody else. Who that somebody else is, I don't know. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying you can build it up to make a profit, and then just like they did with Golden, right? They bought Golden, they sold Golden. They can do that with SGC.
So a couple thoughts real quick. I wonder if they made money on Golden because they bought them at the peak and they're selling them in a down market. So I'm just curious. I don't know, but I'd be curious on what those numbers really are. Also, I think that Fanatics got into the game at the peak also. And I think unless something really blows them away, they're focusing on cards for the next couple of years. Now, to your point, 2 years from now, all of this could change.
Sure. And that's the other, you made, that would probably be, if I had a third bullet point, that's it, right? A lot of things can happen here. I cannot sit here and tell people this is what's going to go down. And I wouldn't do that. We can only speculate. This can go a lot of different ways. And as an SGC fan, I just hope the best, right? Because you want them to exist, right? I don't want to talk about in 3 years, talk about SGC in the past tense. You know, if Collector sells SGC, my worst nightmare would be it's to Fanatics in 3 years, because I've already stated my thoughts on that and how I would proceed if something like that would happen. So
one of the stats that Ryan gave me when I talked to him earlier was SGC right now is as big as PSA was before the pandemic.
yeah, that's why I say they're number 2. Well,
But
no disrespect to CGC, and I
no,
love Suze and
but it also
and
shows you
Andy
how much
Broom, and
but it shows you how much PSA grew after the pandemic. You know, from a size
everybody grew post pandemic. Now things are settling back down, but yeah,
well,
everybody grew.
here's a good fortune cookie. Orlando says, just keep collecting
Yeah,
and
this is
don't
a
worry
great point
about
by
control.
Orlando. Orlando's a smart man, and his comments illustrate that. Mine don't, but his do. You know, have fun, right? I have fun in this hobby. You know, um, you have so many different ways to hobby, right? If you don't like Fanatics and what they're going to produce, you can buy cards already printed. You can just collect vintage, which I really pretty much do now anyway. So, you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to grade anything if you don't want to, right? You have option. There's people who don't grade cards that just think grading's a money grab. I get it. You can change your mind. When grading first hit the card market, I thought it was dumb and it was a money grab. Now I've since obviously done a 180 on that take. That's the beauty. We can change our minds. So you don't have to participate in something you don't enjoy. And I think that's what Orlando's saying there, right? Just have fun with whatever, you know, you want to, however you want a hobby. You're to see. Here's the thing.
Hey,
We got
John,
CEO.
read this comment, because this is exactly a compliment to you hobbying how you want to hobby.
Hey guys, this is David Keppel from Pittsburgh. I really enjoyed tonight's discussion. John, I received your package today, and thank you very much for the sweet hockey cards and kind words. And that's David Keppel,
Good on
great
you.
guy. And he's dealing with some stuff and a family thing. I won't go into details. That's his business, but it's not a good thing. And I wanted to do a little something, and little things like that, and other people do them too. It's a beautiful part of the hobby.
I'm gonna talk here because you did the kind act. This is part of the hobby. It didn't matter if it's PSA, SGC. You reached out to another human being and you use cards to make a connection.
Yeah, man. Listen, I know this isn't Sports Card Nation, right? But what's the tagline of that show, right? The hobby's the people, right? I know we're all here because we're all card collectors. We all have a passion for the hobby, right? But there wouldn't be a hobby without the people in the hobby, right? So that's where that hobby is, the people. I'm not belittling the cards. That's the common thread. But the stories behind the cards, right? How we acquired something. So-and-so gave me this. It finished my set. So-and-so gave me this out of the kindness of their heart. No questions asked. Those sort of stories. And you can't put a price on that, right? And as much as I love my Jackie Leaf rookie, I have $10 to $20 cards. I have stories that go along with it. Maybe even more so than just buying an expensive Jackie rookie. Some of the stories with those lesser cards, if you will, put lesser in air quote, have bigger stories behind them than just plunking down, a big transaction. So you can hobby whatever way you want. You don't like PSA, you don't send to them. You don't like SGC, you don't send to them. You like CGC better than those two, you can set. We have choices,
and
that's the beauty of hobby. You don't like modern cards? Go to a show and buy everything that's already been made for years and years, right? You don't like vintage? You're crazy, but that's a whole separate show. Then buy the latest flashy golden chrome shimmer clear acetate 1 of 1 superfractor that there's 4 of.
Taco fractor.
knock yourself out. Whopper Fractor, Little Caesar Fractor, whatever,
Pizza, pizza.
Pizza Fractor, Wendy's Fractor, Baconator Refractor, whatever refractor
I'm
you
so
want.
freaking
Whatever your
hungry.
thing is, right? The thing I always say, Danny, you've heard me say this. As long as you're not robbing someone or doing something immoral or illegal, hobby your way, right? There's no wrong way to hobby as long as it's above board.
Well, and the other thing you say, it's never too late for a hamburger.
I said that. I don't remember saying that, but I like it. I'll take credit for it.
Well, I might be going out after this. You've made me so hungry talking about food.
I'm full. I'm full. I had a big lunch and I couldn't even finish my Chinese food. So,
All right, my friend.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of people that, this is big news. I don't want to like poo-poo it either. It is big news, but there's a lot of the sky is falling, the world's ending, the hobby sucks, the hobby's dead, it's over. Cash in, get rid of your cards. No.
Orlando, that's hilarious.
Have it your way. I've stole the Burger King logo and I did a hobby your way.
But I think that could be the tagline for the hobby. Have it your way.
Hobby your way. I want credit for that because I think I was the first to come. At least that I noticed. Maybe someone else has, but
Brendan, your check is in the mail. Thank you.
Yeah. Here's the thing, man. The hobby is, we got the national. We're one day closer, right? And I'm not going to do a whole show. We will at some point, but not tonight, right? We think about the national in that week, and we see everybody. We go to dinner, we hang out, we go to I almost said Indians. We go to a Guardians game, right? It's the cards plus, right? And so hobby in a way that makes you happy. I'm not saying you have to like everything that happens. When this deal was announced, I'm sure there were some people that this sucks. I hate this. I get it, right? You're entitled to that opinion as a human being, but you can do things and still be active in the hobby. And if you don't like that, you just avoid it. Again, like I said, you don't like grading, don't grade. You like grading, great. You like vintage, you don't like modern, do vintage. You like modern, you don't like vintage. You got options. There's more than one road, right? There's a lot of forks in the road. Take whatever fork in the road that you enjoy driving on and enjoy the hobby. When someone tells me I'm getting out or I'm not enjoying the hobby, John, I said, there's got to be a way. There's got to be some other way where the hobby can still be enjoyable to you. I find it hard to believe. I'm sure there's some people get maybe burnt out or they've just had enough and it's time to move on. But, I've had days where I'm like, I don't want to touch cards today. You take a day or two off and then you kind of reignite it and then you come back to it, right? I get that. I've done it myself. So.
Well, I got to tell you, I thought the chat room was fantastic tonight, guys.
The chat room always, I'll say this, man, and it's not lip service. We talk even before we go live how much the chat room means to us and how much it means to the show and how important it is. And it may not be the largest chat room on the live stream, but to me, it's the best one. We see a lot of familiar names that keep coming back. From the bottom of my heart, that means a lot, and I thank you. It's Friday night. You can be doing a lot of other things, yet you're here, yakking it up and cutting it up with us, and we appreciate that. And you don't have to be here, and you are, and I don't not realize that when we're doing this show, and it's important. It's important. So, hats off to you guys.
Absolutely. Dylan, welcome. He said he got here just in time for the parade.
He got in at the right time, and then we're gonna wrap it up. He's like, "See you, fellas. Thank you."
Dylan, we were supposed to be done.
That soliloquy I just delivered. That soliloquy I just delivered was for everyone who was here for more than 50% of the show. I still love you, Dylan, but that didn't apply to you.
Yeah. He said, "Sorry, I missed this one live." whatever it is, Dylan, I'm sure that you were doing something more beautiful and more fun. So, Orlando, you guys do so much for the hobby. Thank you. No, Orlando, thank you. You're doing a
And
fantastic
Orlando,
job on
everyone,
your.
everyone in the chat room, man, it makes us laugh. They make us think. Many times they make points that I didn't even think about that makes me think about things. Right? They're funny. We cut up. We talk about pop culture. It got me thinking about Marissa Tomei later as well. So don't tell my wife. Although that game you play with your spouse if you're married, like you can pick one person, like you get a cheat date with. If you ever played that, Marissa Tomei was my answer when my wife asked. You know what hers
All
was?
right. Well, it's been a pleasure here.
Ray Liotta was her pick years ago, and he was obviously still with
Yoda?
us. So.
Is that what you said?
No, Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta.
Oh, okay. I was
Is
about to
my
say if she
speech
took
slurred?
Yoda, that
Is
would
my
be
speech starting to slur? I said Ray Liotta, not Ray Liotta.
It's my hearing. I wasn't sure. Mookie said that's a game? Question mark.
There is a thing where like someone will ask their spouse, "Hey, if I let you get one night. It's got to be a celebrity. Who it is? Who would you pick?" And so I said Marissa Tomei to that question. My wife said Ray Liotta in reverse response. So
somewhere Marissa Tomei with Ray Liotta laughing at you guys.
I hope not, because unfortunately, Ray Liotta is not with us no more, and I don't want that to happen.
Yoda, thank you, Hammer.
I used to, when I was younger, I could do a really good Yoda impression. I'm not even going to try; it would be terrible. It'll probably just sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger again. So
Logan said, "My wife said Carrot Top."
Yeah.
All right, John. I'm calling it on that one before we get into spouse games here. I see where the chat room's going.
Dr. Beckett's listening to this part and like, what the hell is going on right now?
Yeah,
that's all.
You know what? I'm gonna end on this one. Cooter says that's why I love cards. They don't yell at me when I lust after other cards.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
All right.
A lot of great points. That's why the chat room is beautiful. So
I will humbly say we are the best live Cardmensch show on every other Friday night.
Yeah, no one can take that belt away.
Absolutely.
And if they try, there's a copyright infringement. So
absolutely. Well, John, say goodnight, John.
Good night, John.
See you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for the best chat room and the best show on YouTube right
Not
now.
The best show, the best chat room.
The best chat room on YouTube.
We can't like crown ourselves, so we'll crown the chat room.
Well, the best chat room and the best half drunk host on YouTube.
I'm not even close. I'm not even close.
I'm just
having fun. Don't mistake having fun for inebriation or whatever the word is.
Yep, you just proved your point.
I can say my ABCs backwards. You want to see?
C.
A, B, C, D.
We're done. Good night.